Hello, hello, Divine One. Thank you for journeying with us today and for tuning into our channel with me, Omaji, and the Council of Light. As we begin this transmission and energetic conversation, we want to point to what if you could know your worth in a greater way, in a way that far surpasses anything you've ever been taught or know as a concept in relationship to your worth. So as we journey, for many of us, we enter public school or even private school, and we're taught to reference our worth, our value on what we can produce, or how good our grades are, or how good we are at a certain activity, or if we're kind, or if we're polite, or if we behave in class. It's this idea of be a good girl, be a good boy, and then that garners us through other people's perceptions. They consider us to have value or to be good, to be virtuous, to be basically fitting into the box of what we should be. And that's how the good, the worthy, the respected is defined within the framework of society, within the framework of perception that is faulty, perception that assumes you don't already have inherent worth and value, perception that assumes your worth and your value has to be earned or proven or perceived by another. You have to do something so they can perceive your value, your worth, and then reflect it back to you. Like this idea of being our cheerleader or being our, affirming our value, our validator. They validate it. And a lot of times we look to parents, teachers, maybe even siblings or friends as we're growing up to validate us in order for us to feel a sense of worth. And again, this is all taught. So take a moment and feel into this idea. And it's even before this, but we're going to use this as an example. When you were born, before you did anything, did you have value? As a baby, as a newborn? Did it need to be defined? Did it need to be proven? Did it need to be based on something external? Or was it just there? Did it just exist? Your worth. And if you have a hard time orienting to this for yourself, start with thinking into, does a newborn baby, maybe not me specifically, if that's getting you tangled in something, does a new life birthed into this dimension, which is not really new, right? It existed before it birthed here, but for purposes of metaphor, does that life have worth and value? For it can do anything or say anything or accomplish anything or be good at, quote unquote, a certain activity. Does that infant have value because it is? And a lot of people would say infants are precious. Their life is precious. Why does that change as we move through various developmental stages? Why does our worth diminish with age in the eyes of society? Does it really, first of all, do you believe that it does? Or is that just what we're taught, that our behavior, as we start to conjure a personality, express certain behaviors and thoughts, and then actions, does that define our worth later? And why? Or is our worth still there, untouched, regardless of what we do or don't do? Do we have value as an aspect of life? Does that infant have value throughout all developmental stages, through adulthood and beyond, even after transitioning into another phase and journey? Does the value diminish based on what we accomplish or don't accomplish? Or is that what we're taught? Is that what we're conditioned to believe and perceive? And was it projected onto us by society, by others, that if we're not the good girl or the good boy, there must be something wrong with us and we just got a demerit? We just lost some of our worth. Not really, right? But that's the story. And others may have projected their own shame onto you, where they don't like it when they mess up. And so if you mess up, like spill the orange juice, and all of a sudden you're getting scolded and shamed, and I can't believe you just did that. What a mess. Look what you did. What if that's them reliving an old version of when they did that themselves and were angry at themselves? They never fully processed it and healed it. And now they're projecting it onto you or whoever spilled the orange juice. And so all these moments add up throughout our developmental stages, especially from 0 to 7. And so we're going to bring in a process to support you in orienting to your true worth, which never diminishes. It can never go backwards. It's actually infinite. And that preciousness of you, the sacredness of you, is never diminished by anything you appear to do or not do. We incarnate in the physical dimension to live, to grow, to shift, to evolve, to bumble around, and to make mistakes so that we can learn from all of it. We're evolving. We're using it to evolve. And in that bumbling around, we forget who we are. We get disoriented. We get aligned with agreements that others have constructed, society has constructed. This is just how things are, quote unquote. And we lose our reference points, our true reference for our value, our true reference for our worth. We start to reference it on how we behave, what we do or don't do, what we think or don't think, what our feelings are, emotions. We can judge that. We learn to start judging ourselves in an attempt to fit into the box that's been constructed, that if we can just stay within those lines, we will have worth. And it's actually impossible. Because even if we are doing our best to make sure others perceive that we have worth, and from there, through their eyes, we're in the box. We're the virtuous one. We're the one who doesn't spill the orange juice, as the metaphor. We're very careful not to. We're very careful not to step on anybody's toes. We're very careful to offend anyone. We're very careful to fill in the blank, not be outside the lines. And within that creates a constriction and a lack of freedom to express ourselves, and a fear that if we were to let go of the reins, so to speak, that we're using to keep ourselves in that box, to conform, that somehow all you know what will break loose. And actually, we only have to do it once to go from top of the charts, right? As far as virtuous, oh, you just lost all your points because you did this. And what that does is it sets this constriction around how we're meant to live in this experience of growing, shifting, and evolving. And when we constrict ourselves that much and attempt to be something we're not in order to be seen a certain way by others, we're bound. The guides are showing me this idea of like putting tension on something, trying to keep it a certain way, and it just breaks, like everything breaks apart. Eventually, it's all going to break apart. And you could say the illusion of perfection in physical dimension shattered. So, with all the things that are coming out right now and disclosures, which encouraging you to feel all the feels and to process what it's bringing up for you. And we might bring forward a series to help with that because we're just at the very beginning stages of all of it. And we did offer a series a while back called Lifting the Veil. We might do a Lifting the Veil reboot, but that's available in our online store. And basically, the idea that we teach, that we encourage, is that physical realm, boots on the ground, incarnated here, what you're really after is to bring all the polarities into balance. The right, the wrong, the good, the bad. You want to, it's like this idea of we play in separation consciousness until we're ready to graduate from separation consciousness. And so the polarities that have been functioning in separation consciousness, the victim, not victim, the victim savior, the opposites, again, the right, the wrong, the good, the bad, the tugs of war, the power struggles, all of that is coming up in a big way right now because we're being invited to transform all of that within ourselves. And so the disclosures that are coming out now are probably going to trigger some things if you weren't already aware of it and have already processed it. I've been aware of it since about 2000, not all of it, but I became aware of the big linchpin piece around 2010. It's about 16 years ago. So I've processed layers and layers and layers of stuff around power, people oppressing others, people using others, people selling others as commerce, all of those things. And really, my whole journey since I became conscious of, it's like planted both feet on a conscious spiritual path. Not that religion is bad, but I was in religion prior to that, and it wasn't the same. It was more a guilt-based religion that taught you to feel bad for existing, and basically, and I had to graduate out of that when I first began to awaken, and gratefully, almost out of the gate, I was led to some tools that supported me in processing triggers. And so if you don't have a good process for that, we have many videos on this channel to help support you. But this idea of worth, we're going to see what we talked about, where there's all these people who have this false screen. We're already seeing it. There's this false screen in front of them of perfection. And they've been holding it together, holding it together, holding it together, the illusion of it for some time. And it's about to shatter. and it's already begun. Could say the veil is lifting. We're going to be able to see it. We're going to be able to see what's actually been happening behind the scenes to a degree. And it may not be your journey to dive into it and investigate what's been going on behind the curtain. But it might pass through your awareness at some point. Oh, this has been happening, and it triggers you. There's various aspects. There's lots of layers to it, basically infiltrating every area of life. Nothing has been untouched with regard to the physical realm, systems, and organizations, ways things work, the way things work, and often see it with this idea of puppet strings. Like there have been these puppet masters controlling how things work, but more importantly, our perceptions, what we perceive is happening. That there's been a lot of manipulation and control around that through various aspects, the media, Hollywood, books, every area of life, education, the medical field, banking systems, even spirituality has not been untouched in religion, obviously. That's had puppet masters infiltrating and disrupting the true organic unfolding of things. And so that's going to come out in a greater way. And we're not going to get into the details here. But again, if you want us to offer that series, if you feel like that would support you, please let us know and we'll make it available again to participate in live. With the idea of the worth, we're going to circle back to if there's been this group as the puppet masters controlling behind the scenes, you should source your worth this way. You should think of yourself this way, judge yourself this way, compare yourself this way. If I'm not this, then I must not be worthy. That's been amplified. And there was this idea really big, talked about, I want to say 50s, 60s, 70s, even in the 80s, it was still there. This idea of subliminal programming, suggestive hypnotism, where you could literally be hypnotized and not know you're being hypnotized. And that's kind of what's been going on. That is what's been going on. Since birth, every facet of society has been telling us things are a certain way. And this isn't to set it up as though we're victims, because we're not. There's a higher perspective where we can see that that's the script that was agreed to so that we would awaken. It was the catalyst. And we're going to use it to balance the polarities that for lifetimes we've been working in separation consciousness. Ideally, we use it to graduate out of separation consciousness. That's in an ideal world. We pick up processing tool, forgiveness tool that's real forgiveness, not Band-Aid on it forgiveness, and it comes back around next week and we still feel the same charge around it. But the type of forgiveness where we can hold both perspectives. Yes, this happened at this level. There are these puppet masters doing things and trying to manipulate things and have been manipulating things for some time. And we knew that coming in as we incarnated and intended to use it for our evolution. Humanity's using it for its evolution. And from that perspective, we agreed to it. So we want to forgive it, be willing to forgive it, rather, at the 3D level, the level of the like being lost in the script and the victim of that manipulation. And simultaneously hold the perspective that, oh yeah, some part of me agreed to this. I knew it before I came in. I'm using it to evolve. But we hold both perspectives and then we take the hand of our higher self to work through it in a processing technique. And we do have a video, I'll put a link to it below, around the forgiveness, the true forgiveness, the quantum forgiveness. Okay, so we're going to bring in a process to support you in connecting to your true worth from this recognition that probably everything you've been taught wasn't really the way to find it. Deep breath in, orienting to yourself as one with source. Within your column of light, you are a being of light, connected to an infinite source. Take a moment, invite and imagine your higher self, helping you reference yourself as a newborn baby. Body do the same, team same. And then reference, it's almost like rewinding the tape. Go backwards. Oh, before I was that newborn baby, I was in the womb, and then I was a soul that was waiting to incarnate. Yeah. Did you have worth then? Of course you did. And then before that, you were many, many other things. And before that, you originated as a spark in the heart of source. Can you reference your spark in the heart of source? Can we show you how? Spark of light, part of source, beautiful being. And inviting you to update all your reference points for your worth as your spark, at spark level. And we're going to model to you, share information, invite you to amplify the knowing of your worth. Some part of you knows, so you're not going to effort this mentally. You're just going to invite it. Higher self, will you help me remember my worth at spark level? Body, team, same. Good. There you go. Just rippled. And then you want to balance and stabilize, update all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. And then as you journey through the day, through the week, gentle reminder every day, I'm referencing my worth at my spark. I'm referencing my worth as my light. It's the light that I am. And from that vantage point, you have infinite value. That criteria is super simple, but it's in integrity with the divine design, and it's absolutely true. And will you huck and chuck everything else that was never true? Every other way you were referencing your worth that was never really real, was a facade. It was a house of cards waiting to fall. At some point, it was going to. It does for everyone at some point if they're referencing it externally. Get all your reference points off the external back to your light and let go of all those other mechanisms for knowing your worth, your value. And whatever doesn't allow that, we release and uncreate it. Evolve it, return it, whatever's appropriate. Deep breath in. Good. Balance and stabilize. Update all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. And as we record this, it is the 222 gateway, which is all about reuniting with self, unification. So nice work on that. And if you'd like to journey with us for a 6-month vibrational reinvention, this was a bit of a sneak peek, perhaps getting to remember your essence in a greater way and embracing and embodying a higher octave of you. We put a link below, and we would love to journey with you in this auspicious energetic of rebirth and renewal and elevator up unfolding that is at hand. Much love to each of you, and thank you for showing up.